Don't eat me. So I've had a lot of jobs, and turns out I'm an extremely flaky employee. I tend to quit a lot because I think I could be doing better things with my life, or I deserve better pay, or I just wanted to try something to see if it would be fun or I would like it, or I just like didn't care and like needed money in like a moment's notice kind of thing. So I'll start from the beginning. When I was 13 years old, I went to modeling school called Barbizon. That's where I met my best friend Karen. Actually, it's kind of embarrassing. It was kind of a scam because the jobs we got through that agency were mostly for experience. So we didn't get paid.
In order to get paid, you have to have experience in doing something. So you're going to have to do
these fashion shows and modeling gigs for free. It was kind of bullshit. My first paying gig was a hair show for Pravana, where they bleached my entire 14-year-old head and put bubblegum pink hair dye on it. Had me parade around in this like cool do for like a couple days. I got paid $400, which was super dope. But then I also had to go to high school as a freshman and just have this like wild pink hair and then bleached hair, and everyone called me Barbie or Nicki Minaj. Could have been worse. So I've been modeling since I was 13 and extreme self-esteem issues ever since. And that's still something I do sporadically nowadays. After that, I had my first real job. When I was 16, I worked as a hostess for Famous Dave's, which is a barbecue joint, and oh my god, the demographic that went in there was just atrocious and gross. Like, people would throw ribs and corn muffins into the aisles and on the floor, and I always had to clean them up. I always did this thing when I was like bussing tables. If I spilled the salt, I would look quick to my right and to my left and like throw it over my left shoulder because I'm very superstitious, I guess. I don't know how many people I hit with that. Then obviously I quit. I got recruited for Hollister, and I was like, this seems like a cooler job maybe. So I worked there for 3 months. Turns out I hated it. It was awful. We had to buy our own clothing. We were basically just like modeling the clothing on our dime because they wouldn't give us free clothing to wear.
And we always had to be
at the front of the store, like, just like very like chill surfer girl vibes and stuff, and I was like, this is fake as fuck. Like, I don't want to be here. They would always yell at me for like not wearing their clothes, and I'm like, I can't afford your clothing because I'm getting paid minimum wage. I don't know. Then I graduated high school. I was 18 years old and I needed a full-time job because I did not want to go to college at the time. I just applied anywhere. Like, I didn't really care like where it was. I kind of wanted to work at this like Italian grocery store by my high school, Joe Caputo's. It's now not that store anymore. It got bought by a different company. So I applied there and I worked in the deli for 3 months full time. 3 pounds of American cheese? Sure. But there was this girl there that wanted me dead because she thought I was after her man, which to this day baffles and confuses me because her man was the manager. She would like clip me on the shoulder as we would like walk by. She would just do all these like passive aggressive things and like just be really mean to me. Like, one time I was like slicing some cheese or something, and she came up next to me and stabbed a slab of turkey with like a huge butcher knife and walked away. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna just like talk to the manager about this and be like, hey, this girl is like being like really mean to me. I don't know why, like blah, blah, blah. And the manager was hooking up with her every Friday. He obviously did nothing. So I just like lived with that for a while. I would like go home to my mom complaining every day, being like, oh my gosh, this girl, she's so mean to me. And she was like, what's her last name? And I told her, and she was like, oh, she was in my class. Like, she's actually crazy. My mom teaches emotionally disturbed and emotionally traumatized children, kids with like very bad like emotional problems, so people that could be potentially dangerous. And you know, many of her kids do end up committing crimes and go to jail in the future. My mom was like, she's an actual dangerous person, and I was like, great, so she wants me dead, and I have to work with her full time. The universe shone its light on me one lovely weekend while I was snowboarding with Karen and her family in the ayoo, and I broke my arm, so I couldn't slice meat and cheese anymore. That's why I quit. So that was 3 months of my life. And then I worked at O'Hare Airport as an American Airlines check-in agent. I worked in first class, flagship, and international. That job sucked the soul out of me because I would stand alone at this podium for 8 hours. They wouldn't let me text, they wouldn't let me read, they wouldn't let me do anything. So I was alone, just like with this little phone that had people's names on it. So if someone came up to the podium and was like,
this is my last name, can I get through this way?
I would check and see if their name was on the list, and then I would have to click open a velvet rope and let them in. So it was soul sucking, and I was just like trapped with my own thoughts all day. So after 6 months of that, I was over it. Oh, and then I think after that is when I like didn't have a job. I was just like, I'd rather not have a job than do that. So I was still living with my parents at the time. I was only like 18, 19 at this point. I don't know, I went through a lot of jobs really fast. And then I got a call from my friend Natalie, and her boyfriend is the manager at this, or at the time was the manager at this one amusement park that I used to go to as a child called Santa's Village. It's a wonderful place. It closed down like many years ago, and then it reopened in like 2012 or something, and now it's called Santa's Village Amusement Park because they added a little mini petting zoo. So I got a call from Natalie. She was a face painter there. She like worked there like the previous summer. Her boyfriend was the manager at the time, so she was like, hey, like the park needs a princess, and the last princess just went off to college. My boyfriend's asking if you want to be a princess, and I was like, sure. I was a princess for that entire summer and fall, and it was so fun. I got to walk around in this big, ridiculous quinceañera looking dress, and got to ride all the rides with the kids. Like, they would just be like, princess, princess, and grab my hand and take me to all the rides with them. And it was super fun, super chill job. In the downtime when like I wasn't like hanging out with kids, I would go to the petting zoo and just pet the baby camels. There were Snickers and Gertrude, and they were super cute, and I would smell like a llama every day coming home. Yeah, it was great. And at 3 p.m. every day there was story time, but the story that they gave me to read on stage to all these children were the Grimm's versions of classic stories like Cinderella. So the version of the story was the shoe wouldn't fit the stepsisters, so the stepsisters cut their toe, and then the other one cut their heel off, so their feet would fit in the shoe, and there would be birds singing like, this isn't the right one, there's blood coming out of her socks. So I'd have to like read these like gruesome stories to children, and the parents were just sitting in the audience like, what are you doing? Like, what are you reading to my child? The kids would be like sitting around me and like touching my hair and just like not even like listening to the story and stuff. And they just like had no idea what I was talking about. And I'm like, yikes, I'm so sorry guys, this is all they gave me to read. This is supposed to last a half hour, so I guess it's just like a longer story. That was fun. And let's see. After that, I think I started working at Zara in Woodfield Mall, and I worked there for like a year, and then I moved to the city, worked at the Zara downtown on Michigan Avenue for another like 3 years. At Zara, I was a visual merchandiser for like a while, and then I don't know, now. I didn't want to do that anymore because I wanted to be like part-time, and like I was in school and college and I couldn't do that full-time. And while I was part-time at Zara, I got hooked up with like this awesome cocktail waitressing job at the Riv in the Vic. I was terrible at it. Spilled every drink. Got so bad I had to ask the bartender not to open the beers before I brought them to the customer because I would spill them. So people would be getting dented beer cans that would probably explode on them. I was really bad at this job. I had no idea how they like let me like continue as long as I did doing that. But I did get to see like a lot of like really awesome shows. I got to see My Bloody Valentine. We're in Chicago 2 summers ago. I got to see Dua Lipa, Lollapalooza after show, Sylvian Esso. I don't know if that's how you say the name. I did that for like 1 full summer, and then I flaked on a lot of the jobs because I was still working at Zara. I prioritized like Zara over that, but it was super dope. There was like this one time where one of my coworkers and we got a bottle of vodka and just drank half a bottle each for our shift. Then I started working at like this venue that I hadn't worked at before. We were just like totally drunk, belligerent basically, and trying to like take orders and serve people. I didn't know that there were like steps in this venue, so I kept falling every time I would like go to the main stage floor. It was a mess. Yeah, my coworker ended up like leaving crying because she was drunk. Sometimes drunk people get sad. How they didn't like catch on to like us being drunk. Fun times. And then yeah, and then I became a dog walker and I loved that job, and now I am currently laid off because most people are during this pandemic. So I'm not doing anything, but I'm about to be a tutor, so that'll be really cool. It starts in August. Those are all my jobs that I've ever had. They're weird. None of them really resonate with me except dog walking. I really like animals.